Values conflict. This is the moral dilemma situation. You're in a lifeboat, and this is what college professors are known to do, to try and teach you that morality is relative. You're in a lifeboat, fit for 4, you got 5 people on board. If you don't throw somebody off, everyone's going to die. Okay, break up into groups. You guys decide what you would do, 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 and you guys decide what you would do. And then come back after 10 minutes of discussion. Well, they all come back. They all have different answers. All the groups have different answers, and the professor says, see, morality is relative. Is it? Question. Why are you in a dilemma with this scenario? You're in a dilemma because there is a moral law. In fact, there would be no dilemma if life wasn't so supremely valuable, right? If life wasn't valuable, you'd say, who cares? Throw everybody off. It doesn't matter. But you don't say that. Why? Because you realize that there is an absolute moral right to life. There would be no moral dilemmas unless there was an absolute moral law. The very fact that you're in a dilemma is because you recognize that absolute moral law. And in this fallen world, where we have bad things happen, sometimes absolutes are going to conflict. That doesn't mean there's not a right answer. It means that sometimes you might not know what that answer is. But it doesn't prove that morality is not absolute. It is absolute. Look, there are very difficult problems in morality. And there are very simple problems in morality, too. The difficult problems don't negate the simple problems. Just like there are difficult problems in math or calculus, there are very simple problems too, like 2 + 2 = 4, right? And just because you might not know the answer to some equation that goes 10 pages in a textbook somewhere, doesn't mean you don't know that 2 + 2 = 4, right? So don't let complex problems get you away from the fact that there are simple problems and simple solutions. And there are simple principles of morality. And 99.9% of the time when we have to make a moral decision, it's a moral decision based on an easy black or white choice, right? Every once in a while you get over here and you go, gee, I don't know what the right thing is. But this issue over here doesn't negate the fact that there is a right over here, right? That you can know easily. And the moral law written on your heart means everybody knows intuitively what the right thing is on the big issues. It doesn't mean that we have every detail of morality figured out. How about when the Nazi comes to your door? Right? What do you do then? Hast du Juden hier? You've got Jews upstairs in your attic. Schnell, schnell, kommen Sie hier. Hast du Juden hier? What are you going to do? You do. They're in there. Don't lie. Tell the truth to a murderer? What are you going to do? I know what I do. Lie. Why? Because when absolutes conflict, and Christians can disagree on this, but I'm just giving you my view. When absolutes conflict, the greater obligation takes precedence over the lesser obligation. You have a greater obligation to protect life than to tell the truth to a murderer. Now, some theologians like Augustine didn't agree with this. But I think, and this is called graded absolutism for those of you who are taking notes, that there's a hierarchy. And the hierarchy exempts you from the lower obligation. You can think of a hierarchy like this. We have the greatest obligation to God, the next obligation to people, and the final obligation to things, right? Last year, or earlier this year, whenever it was, Michael Vick got into a lot of trouble for dog fighting. It's terrible, dog fighting. It's awful. But in this country, we're more upset over dogs being killed than human beings. It's true. Think about it. No moral outrage over someone going into an abortion clinic, having the baby completely delivered virtually, and having her brain sucked out with a vacuum cleaner. No moral outrage over that, but Michael Vick killing dogs? Ooh, prison time. I'm not saying he ought not go to prison, don't get me wrong. I'm simply saying that I think our priorities, we've inverted this, haven't we? All right, let's get to the bottom line. We disagree on values. We disagree. So therefore, values are relative. First of all, one of the reasons for this is not an issue of denial. It might be confusion. Here's the confusion. The confusion is the difference between ends and means. I'll give you an example. Both pacifists and militarists desire peace in the end. They only disagree on how peace should be attained, right? Some of this might have to do even in the Iraq war situation, right? Some people are saying, look, we ought not be at war. Other people are saying, no, we ought to be at war. We ought to be at war. But both parties really do want peace. Most of them do anyway, right? The question is, what's the best means to get to that end? Is the best means to say, no, we're not going to fight anybody? Or is the best means to say, look, we need to fight them because if we don't, there's going to be more dire consequences down the road. You can debate that. But look, both sides want the same end. Both sides want peace. I don't know anybody really out there who wants war all the time. So it's an ends and means situation.